La Palma y Omoa, Copán y Roatán. Cualquiera que me conozca ya sabe la onda que Honduras es mi lugar. Honduras, Honduras, pa' adelante vamos ya.
Let's start our adventure in the Americas, where the Spanish were a bit like kids in a candy store, except this candy was gold and silver. Their establishment of cities wasn't exactly a tea party. It was more like a wild military conquest that would set the stage for some serious treasure hunting. Who knew that playing with maps could turn into such a gold rush? Fast forward to 1573, when King Philip II decided it was time to sprinkle a little order into this chaotic candy land. He rolled out shiny new ordinances to organize the urban centers. It was like giving the colonies a makeover, and they went from messy playrooms to structured neighborhoods, reshaping social structures faster than you can say fiesta. One shining star during this colonial era was Comayagua, rising like a superhero in the political landscape. With a bustling bourgeoisie made up of both peninsular officials and criollos, it became the place to be. Think of it as the coffee shop where all the important decisions were brewed. Its institutions were like the town hall, making sure everything ran smoother than a salsa dance at a family wedding. Now, let's talk about the San Cristobal Fortress. This place wasn't just another brick in the wall. It was more like a protective hug for the indigenous folks against the big, bad European wolves. This fortress acted as a bouncer at a club, making sure no one too rowdy entered and keeping the peace while making sure the region's precious resources stayed safe and sound. As the silver and gold buzz spread like wildfire, mining towns like Tegucigalpa and Yescran popped up faster than a jack-in-the-box. These towns were directly linked to the gold frenzy, with colonial authorities pulling the strings like puppeteers, shaping urban development faster than you can say Kaching. And let's not forget about agriculture. Oh yes, those farming and livestock centers were like the unsung heroes of the mining industry, supplying leather, meat, and transportation mules to keep the gold wheels spinning. They were the original meal prep companies, keeping the mining towns fed and happy in a way that makes family dinners seem like a picnic. Ports like Omoa and Trujillo joined the party, making sure goods were shipped in and out like a family on a summer road trip. These ports were crucial for trade, helping the colonial economy flourish faster than a zucchini plant in your garden in July. It was all hands on deck for those smooth sailing times. However, not all was sunshine and rainbows. The indigenous folks often found themselves living on the outskirts in places called pueblos de indios. It was like being put in the corner during timeout, reflecting a stark contrast to the official colonial cities. Unfortunately, this segregation was all about the money, proving that sometimes life just isn't fair, no matter how many cookies you bring to the party. Come mid-20th century, urban centers began popping up near those mining and agricultural hotspots, almost like mushrooms after rain. The colonial government finally noticed this growth wave, which was fueled by a population boom and the economy getting its act together. It was like a family reunion, where everyone decided to show up all at once. Now, the northern regions? Well, they were the wallflowers at this dance. The Spanish steered clear, citing health issues, resource scarcity, and a whole lot of conflict. Let's just say, they found other places to hang out, shaping the settlement patterns like a game of musical chairs gone wrong. Enter Father Manuel de Jesus Soberana, our next hero. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work, regrouping the indigenous communities and helping them secure land titles. It was like giving them a VIP pass to be recognized for their contributions, integrating them into national development, and making sure no one was left out of the family photo. By the late 19th century, things heated up with foreign migration and urban establishment, particularly with the ambitious plans for an interoceanic railway. It was like a gold rush 2.0, sparking the creation of new cities all around the country, turning it into a bustling hive of activity. And what about those company towns? Think of them as urban villages created by foreign companies, providing services and infrastructure for their employees. These towns had a vibe all their own, Different from the usual party the existing towns were throwing. They were like a theme park of convenience. The architectural style of these towns was inspired by the southern U.S., particularly Louisiana and Mississippi, resulting in a unique urban flair. It's like they decided to throw a little Cajun spice into the mix, giving Honduras a funky twist on urban identity that would make any architect raise an eyebrow. By the mid-20th century, folks realized that they needed to manage demographic growth and urban expansion, paving the way for the establishment of the Metropolitan Council in Tegucigalpa. It was like hitting the reset button to ensure the town didn't grow too wild and crazy. Now, historical centers are where it all started, including key spaces like markets, public offices, and family homes. They reflect the city's heart and soul, a little like family heirlooms passed down through generations, keeping the historical fabric woven tightly together. Sadly, many of these historical centers are facing abandonment today, drifting closer to being just tourist attractions than vibrant community spaces. It's like watching a favorite toy gather dust. Everyone knows it deserves better. This highlights the urgent need for effective heritage conservation policies to keep history alive and well. Speaking of keeping things alive, urban development policies must now span the gap and integrate heritage conservation efforts. We need to preserve those historical centers and ensure they remain relevant in our rapidly changing urban landscape. After all, our history is like our family story, worth cherishing and sharing with future generations. The sweet sound of applause. It's like the audience's way of saying, "Bravo, you made us feel something." You see, when folks clap their hands together like they're trying to start a fire, it shows that the performance has struck a chord, like that one time Uncle Joe tried to play the piano after 3 too many holiday eggnogs. Audience engagement is super important for live musical events. After all, nothing says "we love you" quite like a room full of enthusiastic clappers. Now, speaking of variety, let's dive into the musical buffet. The performance is a delightful mix of styles, like a musical stew where every ingredient adds its own flavor. We have a bit of rock, a sprinkle of jazz, maybe a dash of country, just what your ears ordered. This diverse melange showcases the musician's versatility. I mean, can you imagine a guitarist who only plays the same chord over and over again? That would be like eating plain oatmeal for breakfast every day.
Yawn.
And let's not forget the eye candy, visual elements that accompany the music. Combining dazzling visuals with the soulful tunes creates an atmosphere so rich, you might just wish you had a spoon to taste it. The lights dance, the colors swirl, and all of a sudden, it feels like you're part of a magical fairy tale. This blend is essential for live shows, bringing the emotional punch that can make you cry, laugh, and possibly even want to hit the dance floor. Just imagine living in a place where every day feels like a game of dodgeball, but instead of balls, it's loss and grief flying at you. Many residents have faced personal tragedies, stories of family and friends lost too soon, making daily life feel like a roller coaster ride without seatbelts. This constant cloud of violence looms heavy, affecting the community's mental health as if it's been binge-watching sad movies on repeat. Now, amidst the storm, enter MSF outreach programs, those unsung superheroes. They swoop in to provide immediate medical care and psychological support to those who need it most. Think of them as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but instead of webs, they offer compassion and care to marginalized groups, including prostitutes and homeless children. It's like a pep rally for the spirit, helping these folks face the multitude of challenges life throws their way. But hang on, it gets a bit bumpier. Alcoholism is causing quite a ruckus in Tegucigalpa, leading to more violence and making the community feel as vulnerable as a kitten in a room full of puppies. The urgent need for safe spaces and medical intervention is as clear as a help wanted sign in the middle of a desert. Addressing these issues is crucial, like putting a soft cushion between us and life's hard knocks. Family, let's dive into the wonderful world of appreciation. You know, cultivating a culture of gratitude is like adding sprinkles on your ice cream. It makes everything a little sweeter. When we express appreciation regularly, not only do we reduce stress like a superhero with a stress ball, but we also boost the morale of everyone around us. Who wouldn't feel a little happier knowing that someone thinks they're just marvelous?